For vindication, his highest regarded boxer gets a degree of his own. There were whispers that Mike Tyson's thumb wasn't really broken, that Iron Mike was really Silly Putty Mike, out of shape, out of desire, and with poor ticket sales for his Buster Mathis fight, his camp fabricated the injured thumb. Well, the x-rays are public, and thumbs down to the whispers.
This is a major fracture, and the distal part of that thumb is unstable. I know that Mike tried as hard as he could to continue his training regimen and to allow this fight to go. But I'm not sure anyone could have gone into a heavyweight fight with a thumb fractured like this.
For the record, neither Tyson's scheduled opponent for Saturday night, Buster Mathis Jr., nor Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield were a part of the doubters. All three men originally believed Tyson's injury was real.
We're up close with the sport of boxing. Bert Sugar is here, former editor and publisher of Ring Magazine, author of the 100 Greatest Athletes of All Time, book that is out now, and joining us from Miami, Ferdy Pacheco, boxing analyst for Showtime. Ferdy, let me ask you about Mike Tyson. Obviously, the fight cancellation, x-rays substantiating the injury, but how badly does Tyson need these tune-ups right now?
He needs them very badly. Anybody that's been out that long has got to get himself back in boxing shape. That's not just physical shape. That has to do with reflexes, with getting his coordinated attack together, being able to be hit, toughening up his skin. It's very important for him to have these small fights, 2 of 3. Apparently, it's only going to be 2. That's enough for him to at least get the idea of what he wants to do. Then he's going to get into the tall cotton. He's going to have to fight for the title by March, and that means serious, serious training. So this episode with a thumb, the only thing I question is why did they have him training if he's got a fractured thumb? That doesn't get better.
Right, 5th time that he's called off a fight. Bert, should great fighters fight hurt if it's not as serious an injury?
Well, I'm not sure whether they should fight hurt or shouldn't fight hurt, but I've always believed, and in writing the book 100 Greatest Athletes of All Time, that a great athlete played hurt. That's what made him great. I mean, Ferdy has been in corners where he's seen men come through with flying colors. Larry Holmes had an injury to his arm. Evander to his shoulder. Joe Frazier, 1964, fought an entire Olympics, wins a gold medal, broken thumb. Now, I'm not skeptical about the thumb. I am skeptical in some respects, as Ferdy said, why he trained, but the most important thing is what it shows about Mike Tyson and what it'll do to his image. Because here's the man who was, quote-unquote, the baddest man on the planet, the toughest man in the world, and if this is the 5th time he's called off a fight, and notice I put up all 5 and even a thumb, what does that say to people who are still trying to get over the Peter McNeely fight?
All right, well, Ferdy, what do you think? Does this hurt Mike Tyson's image?
Let me tell you, he's right. I've been around and in the corner with and helped and been guilty of preparing fighters who shouldn't have fought, specifically Jimmy Ellis against Joe Frazier. Had an arm, he couldn't even raise it well before the fight. Somehow we fixed him so he could fight, and he got killed. I'm not sure that a guy should fight with an injury. If I had it to do all over again, I never would have done what I did do because that was foolish and stupid and in the game. But I do believe a guy with a fractured thumb has no reason to fight. On the other hand, what Bert says has a lot of merit to it. There's something about boxing that has to do with grittiness and toughness. Now, as I get older, I'm getting softer. But when I was younger,
oh, not you,
a guy broke his hand, and you said it's broken, so go ahead. You're not going to break it any worse. Keep on going. You get brave when you're in the corner. But it has to do with the toughness that goes with boxing. You expect toughness from Mike Tyson. You really expect him to grit it out.
Fair or not, people skeptical about this fight being called off because of the lagging ticket sales.
But it was the timing. It was the timing. Had he called off the fight 3 weeks ago, or not gone into that sparring session where the press was invited, I don't think the skepticism would have arisen.
But Ferdy, let me ask you, with Don King out of the picture in court for wire fraud, did that hurt the ticket sales?
Yeah, it does. Hey, whatever you think of Don King, he's the mastermind. He don't confuse anything. That guy has got his finger in every pie. He's got his imprimaturs on everybody that's in there with the Don King organization. When you're around Don King, you do what Don King tells you to do, and he does not like fights to be canceled. I mean, everybody lost here. It's baloney that anybody would want this to be canceled. Everybody lost, and certainly it was the easiest fight. Look, you really want to be nasty about it, you can inject that, like I did with Ali and many other fighters, and you'd have a thumb that's numb. Now, that's criminal. I mean, I really shouldn't have ever done that. But you could do it if you had to do it. If the guy was gritty and said, look, I want to fight no matter what, he would have done it. There was a fracture. It should have been in plaster. I don't understand what it's doing out of plaster, and he has every right not to fight. Tyson has every right not to fight.
It's not just Tyson. It's Tyson's, I think, career is in minor disarray right now. They don't know when he's coming back. They say 4 weeks is optimistic. Don King's on trial. And that's another reason with no guidance from Don, Mike didn't quite know what to do, and Horn and Holloway didn't know what to do. If Don goes down, and at 6'5" even, he won't, but let's say he does. The rumor is that he'll disband the Don King production office in Florida. Frank Warren will be the promoter over in England. And it'll be a new set of circumstances for Mike Tyson, and I don't know how this will set with him. The question overriding, and Ferdy touched on it, does Mike Tyson have the fire in his belly to come back or not, broken thumb or no?
Okay, well, good question, and Mike Tyson will eventually answer that. Ferdy, what is boxing if without Don King? Better or worse?
Right now, he controls everything. He has put on a series of 3 years of incredibly good fights. Every boxing era, as Bert will tell you, has its Don King. We had Mike Jacobs. We had Tex Rickard. We had the guy from Chicago with the IBC that went to the penitentiary. We have our eras of promoters. Right now, he is the promoter. So is Bob Arum, and so is Duva. Don't leave them out. Right. They are not small entities. They're big entities, and so is Seth Abrams and the HBO organization. It's not just Don King. He doesn't rule the world. He is one of a few very good promoters. All right, winding up, we just need a yes or no statement. Will we see Bo Tyson, and Ferdy, your opinion? I'm sorry, say it again? Will we see Bo fight Tyson, in your opinion, at some point? If he wins, yes, no question about it. It will be the biggest event that has been put on as far as money is concerned and worldwide audience. If those two fight, it's Katie bar the door for the money. You think we'll see that, Bert?
No.
No.
I don't think so, because I think this thumb injury puts back Mike Tyson's timetable. I don't think that Riddick Bowe will want to wait around for Eddie's word determination till Tyson does it. I say no.
All right, thank you very much. Bert Sugar, author of the 100 Greatest Athletes of All Time. Ferdy Pacheco, the fight doctor and boxing analyst for Showtime, joining us from Miami. Thank you both. Enjoy the fight. We'll talk to you again next time when we have an opportunity to talk boxing.
After watching his fighter barely survive an aging but still dangerous Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe's trainer Rock Newman was on the phone with Don King, chatting about a possible showdown with Mike Tyson. Newman also said in a Sunday news conference that, quote, if we don't make an attempt, Tyson-Bowe won't be made. But he also said he has other options.
I'm going to be discussing Mike Tyson with Don King and John Horn, Roy Holloway, whoever it is that represents Mike Tyson. I will talk to Panos Eliadis, who is Lennox Lewis's chief negotiator. I'm trying to determine who I can get for Riddick Bowe next. Right now, I simply don't know, but we have some decent options ahead.
Newman told Charlie Steiner he also hopes to meet with Don King sometime next week. He thinks King and Tyson have to do something dramatic, as Newman said, to regain credibility. Rough estimates of a Tyson-Bowe fight could generate as much as $200 million.
Riddick Bowe's manager Rock Newman said today that he expects to meet with Don King either tomorrow or Thursday about a Bowe-Tyson fight for the spring of 1996. Newman estimates a Bowe-Tyson showdown could generate upwards of $100 million. If Newman's meeting with King comes off, it could well take place, quite literally, while the jury is out. Meanwhile, a half a world away in the boxing hotbed of Chiang Mai, Thailand, 300 miles north of Bangkok, the WBC, the World Boxing Council, reaffirmed its decision today to sanction a Frank Bruno-Mike Tyson fight for their heavyweight championship. Expected to take place in March. Lennox Lewis, who thought he was the mandatory challenger, has taken the WBC to court to try to stop the Bruno-Tyson fight. After receiving the blessing of the WBC at his convention last week in Thailand, 33-year-old Frank Bruno, the affable Englishman, confirmed today he will defend his heavyweight title on March 16th against Mike Tyson, and the British bookmakers immediately responded by making Tyson a 7-to-1 favorite. Tyson and Bruno met 6 years ago, and Tyson knocked him out in 5 rounds. What isn't certain is if Tyson will meet Buster Mathis Jr. before the Bruno fight, or if he ever will. Tyson is still recuperating from a broken right thumb he suffered while training for the Mathis fight. Peter McNeely, the Boston heavyweight who's been stopped by Mike Tyson and knocked out by a self-inflicted slice of pepperoni pizza, won a fight over the weekend against a 5'7", 145-pound opponent. And for his efforts, McNeely was arrested and charged with assault with a dangerous weapon. And it wasn't his fist. It was a beer bottle to the forehead of the other guy. It happened at a Boston nightclub. McNeely's trainer, Vinny Vecchione, was not there to stop the fight.
I trained my boy McNeely to go toe-to-toe with the champ, and he did for 89 seconds. He didn't back down from any combinations thrown at him, and he ain't backing down from this one.
There's a new stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut. Not just cheese, but pepperoni baked right into the crust.
So good you'll eat it backwards. Show him, kid.
Oh, boy.
The new 1-2 combination cheese and pepperoni stuffed crust pizza.
Hey, McNeely, how many slices am I holding?
Yes, it looks as if Don King was knocked down this afternoon, but he got up rapidly, didn't even take a standing 8 count, as a matter of fact. They are taking their show on the road to Philadelphia. The Tyson-Mathis fight is being moved, according to promoter Don King. It will be in Philly December 16th, after King's connection to the bout kept it from happening in New Jersey. That state's Casino Control Commission today voted 4-0, unanimously rejecting a petition which would have allowed Mike Tyson's scheduled bout with Buster Mathis Jr. The commission last year banned King from doing business with Atlantic City casinos after King was indicted on wire fraud charges. King will be retried after his first trial ended with a deadlocked jury. Donald Trump had asked the commission to allow King to assign promotional rights to someone else, but quoting Commission Chairman Bradford Smith, the interest in staging the fight was outweighed by maintaining the integrity of casino regulations, end quote. To repeat, Don King just minutes ago said that the fight between Mike Tyson and Buster Mathis Jr. would be moved from Atlantic City to Philadelphia. It still is scheduled for December 16th. Kenny?
Hey, that reminds me. How long until the Tyson fight?
9 days and a wake-up at the Spectrum here in Philadelphia.
As we continue, Mike Tyson and his thumb together on display in Philly 9 days before Buster. We'll see how Mike and the thumb look. Next up, we will have the...
Well, Mike Tyson's recently broken right thumb is fine, and so are his other 9 fingers, as he showed today, sparring publicly for the first time since he was forced to cancel his fight with Buster Mathis Jr. last month. Tyson will fight Mr. Mathis Jr. a week from Saturday night in the city of brotherly love.
9 days and a wake-up at the Spectrum here in Philadelphia. That's right. Wake up!
The British are coming. The British are coming. Tyson sparred 5 rounds this afternoon, showing no ill effects from the broken thumb he suffered almost 2 months ago. Tyson pronounced himself in great shape, which is bad news for Mr. Buster Mathis Jr.
The big casinos, Vegas and Atlantic City, they take you for granted because they have you. On contract, they have you. And they know the people's going to come out to see you because of yourself and the casinos afterwards, the festivities afterwards. But a city like this, the night of fights, will just light up.
Sometimes happiness means headgear.
His open gym with Mike Tyson Wednesday for reporters, lights out for sparring partner Nate Tubbs. Always wear your headgear when you're in there with Mike.
9 days and a wake-up at the Spectrum here in Philadelphia. That's right. Wake up!
There's the fight Barker. Tyson went 5 rounds in the gym, says the thumb's okay, says he's fighting fit. Nate Tubbs can attest to that. Hit me, I am a piñata.
The big casinos, Vegas and Atlantic City, they take you for granted because they have you. On contract, they have you. And they know the people's going to come out to see you because of yourself and the casinos afterwards, the festivities afterwards. But a city like this, the night of fights, will just light up.
Tyson fights Buster Mathis Jr. on December 16th in Philadelphia. That fight, of course, postponed because of the thumb injury Tyson suffered in the fight that was to have taken place in Las Vegas back in November.
Back at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, field goal by Bonio puts the Cowboys ahead 10-3, and we have a very distinguished visitor in the booth with us, Mike Tyson. Bonio's kickoff by Witherspoon at about the 11. Found some room. Flag on the play. Witherspoon got it out to about the 37-yard line where the Eagles would have started. But usually this flag means they'll take it back toward the Eagle goal line. No. Beg your pardon. Face mask. Looks like against Dallas. Nope. I'm wrong again. He's wrong. I'm sorry. Mike Tyson, you can't make that kind of adjustment that quickly, can you?
Not at all.
Hey, well, you were staying at the same hotel with the Cowboys last night, huh? Some of them come up to see you in your room?
Yeah, we had Emmett was up there, Dion was up there, Michael was up there. Man, it was a ball. I had a great time.
What'd they have to say? How'd they feel about today's game?
They felt good about it. They were confident. I told them they had a rough time, but they were sure they were going to prevail.
Did they ask you about how you're going to do next Saturday?
I let them know. I made it sure to them that I'm going to do well.
Did they assure you that they were going to do well?
Yes.
I tell you, those are great players when you're talking about those guys. I mean, they're not only some of the best Cowboys, but they're some of the best players in this league.
That was a 15-yard face mask penalty, so the Eagles now have the ball in Dallas territory at their 49. Saxon moves up to the left. Garner and Waters. Pete in the direction of Charlie Garner. Mike, you follow football?
I follow the players.
Are you a Cowboy fan?
I like players on the Cowboys.
How about, yeah, and then the thing you learn, you know, traveling around, is you always have to be the fan of the town that you're in. So you're here in Philadelphia, training in Philadelphia, going to fight in Philadelphia. You better be a Philadelphia fan for a while.
Well, that's not true, but I love Ricky Waters.
Well, I guess if you're then you don't have to worry about it being a fan. But I do everywhere I go, and they say who's going to win or who you're a fan. I always say that
the home team.
Yeah, the home team where I am.
Pete's pass complete to Calvin Williams. Dixon Edwards knocked him out of bounds. Look at the heat on Rodney Peete.
This is the thing that they have to get from that backside, you know, and you see Leon Lett getting there. He's the guy that, you know, has moved from tackle to defensive end, taking Charles Haley's place, and this Dallas defense is really going to miss Charles Haley.
Well, they don't really have anybody else who can rush the passer.
Well, unless Leon Lett as a right defensive end becomes that guy.
That's Ricky Waters. He got a couple of yards, not much more.
Hey, Mike, is there anyone out here that you see that you think could be a boxer? I mean, could Ricky Waters be a heavyweight, you think?
No, I don't know. I was discussing that with the guys in the room the other night. They were talking about Hightower, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
And Hightower House Smith, I forgot the guy that boxes occasionally.
Right. It was Too Tall Jones. Remember when? Yeah. He was a defensive lineman for the Cowboys. Then he tried to become a boxer, and then he went back to football. That didn't work.
Yeah, but I believe they have to start that at a younger age. You know what I mean? I think you have to just get groomed into it. It's very difficult to be at 34 and then you try to compete with guys that've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, the guy was Highsmith is who it was. Yeah, he was a running back.
Yeah, Alonzo Highsmith.
Alonzo Highsmith, yeah. And he got out of football and he tried. No, I agree with you. I mean, whatever you are, you have to be that at the young age, and whether it be a fighter or a golfer or
because I personally, I wouldn't want to be in there.
I don't blame you.
I wouldn't want to be in there with these
You're
guys.
very wise.
No, but then and then conversely, I mean, you would get out there, you could do that, but if any one of them got in where you get in, they wouldn't want to be there either.
I think it'd be disastrous. Yeah.
3rd and 8. Pete chased and hit by Tolbert.
You wouldn't want to be Rodney Peete right there, would you? Because if you add that up, I mean, that's about 1,200 pound a guy. When all these guys get here to the quarterback back here, that's going to be about 1,200 pound a guy hitting them. Fall on. See, there's 3, 3, 3, and then boom, another 300 comes on.
Well, I think basically this new rule they have by protecting the quarterback is ridiculous.
Well, Mike, thank you for visiting with us, and good luck to you next week. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You just think they ought to let him hit him anytime they want to, huh?
Excuse me?
You just think they ought to let him hit him anytime they want to?
Oh, absolutely.
Go after him. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Mike.
Get charged for the free TV event of the decade. Miller Lite presents Tyson Saturday live on Fox. 6 days till Mike Tyson fights live on Fox. Free.
Now, stop me if you've heard this one before, but Mike Tyson is going to fight Buster Mathis Jr. on Fox this Saturday. Now, you're right. This is the same bout that got called off because of Tyson's thumb injury. So for the second time around, how do you hype a fight that probably won't be much of a fight? Well, you focus on the location, Philadelphia, the home of history, and Ben Franklin.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the place of history. This is the place of excitement. This is the place of adventure. This is where Don King got the idea for his hair from the time I flew my kite in a thunderstorm. Here he is, that man who knows only in America and Saturday only in Philadelphia, Don King!
How many rounds do you feel this fight will last?
Listen, I'm not a predictor, but trust me, I'm going to give you something that you won't never forget in Philadelphia.
Were there any doubts in your mind that you still had the tools, the goods to be able to deliver strong?
I didn't have any doubt. It's just that I knew I could do well. I just knew I could do well. Even in my worst night, I knew I could do well. I was just worried about what people would think, and I was caught up in that scenario. You know what I mean? People was throwing a lot of negative vibes, so that's why I shut everything out and I just concentrated on doing what I had to do. And all the fanfare and all the crazy, they made a big thing about the publicity about the fight, got me a little nervous.
How have you become a different person?
Well, you know, I'm not totally, as they say in the rehabilitation program, I'm not totally saved as far as my deeds are concerned in life. You know what I mean, good or bad, but you know what I mean, I'm on the road. I didn't stray away yet.
But what's kept you on the straight and narrow thus far?
There's people that I see that was a part of that environment that I was once, you know what I mean, a brotherhood of, and I still love them and have respect for them, but they have to understand that that just wasn't healthy for me. You know what I mean? It's probably good for them. I was too extreme in that world. You know what I mean? I couldn't handle it.
Will all of this make you a better fighter?
Well, I don't necessarily about a better fighter. I just know when I fought Peter McNeil, that's the first time in my whole career I ever been to a fight and never had to say, well, let me stop drinking because now it's time to train. That's the first time in my life I went through the whole training period. I even went through the whole thing. I trained for a fight without ever having to drink. First time in my life.
How has being a Muslim changed your life? I mean, we've seen and heard you, but how has it changed your life?
I don't see the change, but they see the change. I see people that have been out and they said, I remember a long time ago, I met you 6 years ago. I like the way you are now. Stay this way. You know what I mean? Because instead of going to a club and just being nice and humble and just watching people and talking and having conversations, social events, I would go and want to destroy the club. You know what I mean? I used to go want to destroy the club. So I take the club, I thought I owned the club. I'm ready to destroy it. And, you know, I'm young, so I thought, whatever it costs, I'll pay for it. So it was just crazy. But the fact is, it just gave me an insight on just humanity and the way I want to be treated.
Don't forget tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time, Tyson Mathis Jr. will be back to the New Orleans Superdome right after this.
If you believe the old adage that you get what you pay for, you now understand why Saturday's fight between Mike Tyson and Buster Mathis was free. The 3-round fight that was roughly as entertaining as Tyson's last fight against Peter McNeely, only without the stunning witticisms from the opponent, was apparently Tyson's last fight for nothing. The former champ will now take on Frank Bruno for the WBC heavyweight title on March 16th, and that will not be free.
We'll find out March 16th how rusty I am. This is going to be great. I look so dearly forward to it.
I can't wait for the fight. I'm getting involved and I'm getting stereo from this, that, and this man over there shouting about this, but I can't wait for the fight. I wish the fight was tomorrow, but I don't want to get...
I do too. We'll take it as it comes. I'm just looking forward to it. He's talking about he wish it was today or yesterday. Boy, don't he know.
3 months of that still to come. If you were thinking about forking over the dough for that fight, consider their last get-together. Tyson dropped 40 pounds 3 weeks before the fight and still dumped Bruno in the first half-minute of the bout. It was over in the 5th, and Tyson won every round on every judge's card. Happy shopping.
How much would it take any of you guys to get in the ring with Mike Tyson?
I wouldn't fight him for all the cash in the world. No, not me.
I would take Tyson on in a video game.
He's the man. He's the man. Did you see his comeback on Showtime? Yeah, Showtime. That's the Mike Tyson network. I can't wait to see him fight for the heavyweight title again.
He got the eye of the tiger. There's no quitting this guy.
He keeps his hands up, his chin down, and his butt off the ground.
Boy, do I love to watch him fight.
Steve, a moment, who's got a guest with him.
Yeah, I think you recognize this guy to my right, the former heavyweight champ of the world, fellow by the name of Mike Tyson, who's in training for Frank Bruno for the WBC heavyweight championship on March 16th here in Las Vegas. How are you feeling physically right now?
Absolutely great.
Yeah. How about the hand? I know that was a question, obviously. It had to postpone the first fight with Buster. How about right now? Everything 100%?
Everything's going well. I'm just looking forward to March 16th.
You've had less than 4 rounds of preparation in your 2 fights to get ready for this championship. Is that enough for you?
Well, it is irrelevant at this particular point. I'm here and I'm prepared. He's here to defend his title. I'm here to take it, and I'm going to have it.
Mike, given the quality of opponents that you've had in your comeback, the first 2, how do you measure your progress right now?
Well, the first fight was basically just filling out progress as far as getting back into the ring and getting more acquainted with the atmosphere of the fight game. And the second fight was, as you know, to a higher caliber, and I'm just confident I'm going to do well this fight on March 16th.
If you get by Frank Bruno on March 16th.
When I get by Frank Bruno.
Okay,
yeah.
when you get by, he can be intimidating. Assuming you get by Frank Bruno on March 16th, what's next for you? Would you like to go for the WBA title and Bruce Seldon, or the IBF and both?
Well, you know, I mean, I take just one fight at a time. This particular moment, my focus is on Frank Bruno, and as I said before, I refuse to be beaten. I have to have this belt.
Did he hurt you in the first fight back in 1989?
Well, if he hurt me, I'm sure I hurt him more than he hurt me, because I came out victorious.
What about the fact that Mr. Bruno is out for revenge?
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm just, all praise be to God, I'm just happy that I'm having the opportunity to fight him for the title, and I look forward to doing well, and I'll come to be victorious.
On March 16th. All right, Mike, we really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for stopping by. We say goodbye to Mike Tyson.
Tyson speaks.
I must beat him. I have to beat him. I have no other choice but to beat him.
We'll hear more on Tyson Bruno. March 16th, Las Vegas, Nevada, WBC Heavyweight Championship. It is Mike Tyson looking to take the title from Frank Bruno. Tyson hasn't been champ since going to prison in 1992, and in his 3rd fight since coming back, he says he will win the belt from Bruno.
Yeah, I just don't see him lasting with me. I'll be in just tremendous shape. I'll be in tremendous focus, and I'm going to just be throwing punches with bad intentions. The championship is the main asset. You know, just to be the champion, to be called a champ.
How about that quote? I'll be throwing punches with bad intentions. Meantime, the next fight Lennox Lewis has could be in court. Lewis has filed a suit claiming he was next in line for a shot at Bruno after winning a title elimination bout. A federal court ruling Thursday backed Lewis's claim and wants the WBC to show why Tyson Bruno should be the matchup when the governing body itself had previously set up the other plan to see who would get the first shot.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Jim Lampley. For those of you who are expecting to see Andre rise in transportation problems, he'll be with us next week. You know, we tried to get...
I'll be happy to play in the role of Andre and answer a few questions about this past year in Cleveland and what's coming up next.
Yeah, we'll talk football in a moment. And we tried to get Bert Sugar for the show, but he's having his hat fixed on the East Coast, so he couldn't make it. All right, the Bruno-Tyson fight. Is there anything that wows you about this one?
Well, I think it's interesting the number of people in the sport who suggest that Bruno might have a chance to do something. Some of that is probably wishful thinking on the part of people who are politically aligned on the opposite side of the Tyson dividing line in the sport. Most of us seem to suspect that Bruno's chin is his Achilles heel, so to speak, in this fight as in most others, but Mike hasn't done anything tremendously impressive since leaving prison. I mean, his performance against Mathis was technically raw. It showed ring rust in a way that I'm sure he would be hoping would dissipate by now, and I still leave open to question, as I always have, whether this guy can wind up making anything in the way of a significant mark on the history of the sport compared to what his potential appeared to be in 1987 and 88.
Did you get any sense, Jim, of or a gauge of his mindset, where he is mentally in terms of getting back to where he once was?
No, I haven't spoken to him. You know, I can only listen to the hearsay of people who've been around him. He was at our fight last weekend in Las Vegas, the Chavez De La Hoya doubleheader, and I kind of tried to engage his eye across the ring, at least get a chance to look at him, you know, maybe say hello or something like that, but and we were directly across the ring from one another, but one how or another I didn't catch his eye.
But if you had to make a prediction, you don't think he'll be the fighter that he was before.
You know, he can win all 3 heavyweight title belts without doing anything hugely significant. Right. Beating Frank Bruno, Bruce Seldon, Franz Botha, that's not going to get him into the history books. Then you have a lot of people who are sort of attempting to get into position. Tommy Morrison was one of them, via a contract with King of some sort, to fight with Mike. But I still see it as a big political and business problem, whether that can happen. My prediction has always been that he would wind up finishing his career without ever fighting Bo, without ever fighting Moore, without ever fighting Lewis, without ever fighting Foreman. You know, the 4 best-known heavyweights outside of Tyson in the division at this moment. I don't think he'll fight him.
The fights that people want to see, George Foreman, Michael Moore, that fight is off. What has become, what will become of George?
Well, I think that my perception of George is that he, like Riddick Bowe, is trying to free himself to get into a position for the Tyson sweepstakes. You know, everybody wants a piece of that big Tyson money while there's still market appeal. George, if he fought Moore again, it's my own personal belief that he would lose all 12 rounds instead of losing 9 of them and then knocking the guy out in the 10th as happened before. Moore is by far the more technically polished fighter at this moment in his career. So I think he'd beat George, and I think George realizes that if he's going to have one last hurrah, the better choice is to do it for a lot of money with Mike Tyson, and that's what he's hoping for.
Evander Holyfield has not looked great the last time out, did not look great. Do you think he should retire, hang it up for good?
Well, he's not hurt in such a way that you have to fear for his life. The medical authorities all continue to license him and give him access to the ring, so why argue that he has to quit while everybody else in the sport can lose a fight and stay active? This guy hasn't lost a lot of fights. He's had a lot of ring wear. He's had a lot of very difficult 12-round wars against top heavyweight fighters, and I don't think he's much compared to what he used to be, but it's not my position or yours to tell him that he has to sit down.
Have you heard who he might be fighting next?
I think there's discussion whether the fight can be made. I'm not really sure, but I've heard talk of him possibly fighting James Toney on a Time Warner, TVKO, HBO type card on the undercard of Lennox Lewis versus Ray Mercer.
And Riddick Bowe, why isn't he more active? Because he's the
Well, Riddick Bowe at this moment is, via his manager, Rock Newman, Riddick is attempting to void his contract with Time Warner and HBO. And my perception of that, and I think Rock would make no bones about it, is that they want to get free to get in a position to fight Tyson, try to make some kind of deal with King and Tyson to get into that sweepstakes. And so they're lodging a claim in court that because of the no contest in the Mathis fight that he's technically free from the contract at that point, but they performed under the contract and fought 1, 2, 3 more times for HBO after that. So it doesn't strike me that they would have much of a case.
All right, so since they're not going to be fighting each other the way it should work, if you had to, right now, pick the best of the heavy, would you say, based on what you know of Tyson, Bowe, what you just explained?
I like to say that there's no heavyweight champion right now. I mean, I just believe that there is nobody who deserves to be seen as preeminent in the division based on what they've done in the past 3, 4 years. You know, I wouldn't pick Riddick because I think even though he won the most important fight against Holyfield, he doesn't exhibit the passion necessary to say, I'm the man. He's probably the best combination of power and technique, though.
Here's something you may not believe. 3 weeks from tomorrow, Mike Tyson goes after his first world heavyweight title, the WBC version against Frank Bruno, since losing to Buster Douglas more than 6 years ago. But Frank Bruno, even though he's a 10-to-1 underdog, remains remarkably and even uncharacteristically self-assured of beating the odds and beating up the aforementioned Mr. Tyson, as Al Bernstein reports tonight from Inside the Ropes.
If Frank Bruno fights as tough as he's talking, then his March 16th battle with Mike Tyson would be exciting. Insiders close to Bruno say he's showing more bravado for this fight than anyone can believe. He's utterly confident that he'll win. And some of the remarks he's made in taped interviews are almost inflammatory, a real departure for the normally reserved Brit.
I see myself knocking out Mike Tyson, spectacularly knocking him out. There's no way he's going to beat me. No way. No way. No way.
If Tyson is worried, he isn't showing it. He was courtside this week watching the UNLV running Rebels upset UC Irvine. Sitting behind the Rebels bench, Mike rooted for his fellow Brooklynite guard Sunshine Smith. Reports are his Las Vegas-based training is going very well for the Bruno bout.
Mike Tyson fought Frank Bruno once before. This is what happened.
Tyson gets nailed with a left hook. Tyson looks wobbly as he attacks Bruno. That's the first time I've seen anything like Tyson staggered. Mike Tyson doesn't seem to have that fiery look in his eyes.
Bruno versus Tyson, WBC Heavyweight Championship, coming soon, live on pay-per-view. The Championship, Part 1. Call your cable or satellite company.
Consider it Mike Tyson's first true test. Eager to dispel criticism for his first 2 fights, the former champ accelerated his bid to regain the world heavyweight title by taking on WBC champ Frank Bruno last night in Las Vegas. Tyson entered the ring with less than 4 full rounds of actual boxing since his release from prison last year. Bruno, with the confidence that a quick start could land him a win, when asked about his fight strategy, he said, "Don't blink." Tyson in the role of challenger for the first time since '86. Bruno had thousands of British fans behind him. Opening round, Tyson with the quick flurry, dominating the action. Bruno appeared apprehensive, at times even scared. Round 2, Tyson again, the solid left, taking it to Bruno before the champ wraps him up, and he continued to hold. Referee Mills Lane deducted a point from Bruno in the round for constant holding. Third round, though, opening minute, Tyson gets Bruno to the ropes and begins his barrage. The left nearly sending Bruno through the ropes, and it was over. Mills Lane stopping the fight 50 seconds into the third round, didn't even bother to count him out. Tyson, the new WBC champ, celebrating with his support crew. Tyson was fit, fast, and ferocious as he regained a piece of the heavyweight title. What the 247-pound Brit did mostly was hold, and he appeared tight from the opening bell. The Tyson money wagon now appears headed for a challenge to WBA champ Bruce Seldon, probably in July. A lawsuit by Lennox Lewis against Tyson and Bruno, and the WBC possibly could delay such a match. The questions about how much ring rust Tyson still has may not have been entirely cleared up, but there's no question about his hand speed or power. And it did look like some of the fire that propelled him to the undisputed championship in '87 was still there. Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein join us with a complete wrap from Las Vegas.
This is a fairly unique fight promotion insofar as neither fighter was especially accessible prior to the fight. After the fight, Mike Tyson was consistent. He left the building without uttering a word to anybody. But Al Bernstein did manage to catch up with Frank Bruno.
Frank, were you surprised that you were not able to hit him with some of those uppercuts and the counter punches that you were throwing? Was that your plan?
Right.
Yeah.
That was my plan. I wasn't surprised because he's a good fighter. Mike Tyson couldn't take nothing away from him.
Did the cut come from a clash of heads or a punch?
I couldn't really tell you, you know what I mean? The cut was a cut, you know, I didn't want to say clash of heads. His head was coming in there, his elbows was coming in. He got a little bit dirty in there, so I don't want to make no excuses after the event because, you know, you call me that. I'm crying over spoiled milk.
The holding, the caution for holding, did that disrupt your plans at all in this fight?
Not really, because, like, he could have got warned for a couple of things, but at the end of the day, I got warned first. So, as they say in England and as they say in sport, that is cricket, old beam.
With the level of disappointment here as opposed to the first time you lost?
It was a level of disappointment because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was a champion. I felt much more confident. I tried my best, but at the end of the day, my best wasn't good enough.
Frank Bruno didn't say as much, but there are indications that we may have seen the last of Frank Bruno. After all, he is 34 years old, but more to the point, the performance of Mike Tyson on Saturday night here in Las Vegas. Sal Bernstein was with me at ringside. Give me your synopsis of what you saw.
Well, it was a very good performance by Mike Tyson. If it wasn't excellent, it was very good, and it came against the best opposition he's faced so far. It certainly was an improvement over the way he fought against McNeely and Mathis, and one of the biggest improvements was his defense. Still lunged in a little bit, and I think a quicker counterpuncher might have been able to hit him more often. But make no mistake, Tyson did some of the things that were vintage Tyson. Used his jab to work his way in through lots of combinations, and I think overall it was an excellent performance.
Al, the sense that I got in watching tonight, Mike Tyson didn't respect Frank Bruno very much, so he was able to come in and bore in with that overhand right, opened a serious cut in the first round, staggered him in the second, and finally put him away 50 seconds into the third round.
Yeah, and the important thing is he didn't respect Bruno, even though Bruno did land some very good counter punches against him. And that overhand right you alluded to, a weapon that worked the first time he fought him, and so he used it again tonight, and used it better than I've seen him use it in a long time.
So where does Mike Tyson now rank among the heavyweights?
Well, right, he's heavyweight champion, or at least he has one version of it, and we know he's probably better than Bruce Seldon, and we know he's better than Franz Botha, so am I.
And so, with that, we'll send it back to SportsCenter. Champ.
history weigh Mike Tyson's career? Will he be remembered as a great heavyweight or just for what he might have been? Tyson beat on Frank Bruno like a drum last night and now is once again at least partial heavyweight champion of the world. Do you think Tyson will ever be the fighter he once promised to be, Mitch?
Well, I think if the question is, will he ever be heavyweight champion of the world, promise of that, yes. In terms of a unified title, absolutely. But when he began, he was a bit of a sympathetic hero with Customato and that relationship, and that will never be attained again.
What do you think, Michael?
You know, it's difficult to tell because obviously Bruno's, game plan was devised by Arthur Murray last night. So, who knows how much of a stiff he really is. For those few seconds, just for those few seconds when he took him out last night, he actually looked like the young Tyson. Whether this translates into some kind of great career, you can't tell because the next guy is Bruce Seldon, and it looked last night like he could have unified the titles in another hour if the other guys had been around.
Well, Ryan, you're a Seldon man.
Oh, yeah, right. in baseball, all of history, we've always talked about how hard pitchers throw, and there's even been times you tried to measure the speed, and did so-and-so, the lefty throw harder than Feller, who throws harder than blah, blah, blah. Well, this guy hits as hard as anybody in the history of boxing. I think if we don't have the empirical evidence to prove it, but I think we have the memories to prove it, and once again, we saw some of that last night.
But here's what makes Mike Tyson unique right now. Joe Louis was a hero to many people. Muhammad Ali was a hero to many people. Even Frank Bruno last night was a hero in his native land, Britain. Mike Tyson's not a hero to anybody, not as far as I can see. We watch him like we watch a creature in a horror movie. We want to see the destruction he can do. But I think ultimately, just as you watch those creatures in those horror movies, you root for someone to come along and knock him off once he reaches the top.
I think you're partly wrong, because I bumped into your friend Chris Weber last night, and I said, how did you like it? And he said, well, you know me, I'm a Tyson man. And
well, that's one.
Yeah, no, but there are more than that, particularly to young black people to whom Tyson is a hero. Sonny Liston was not a hero to anyone, black or white. But Tyson is a hero to some people.
I'll tell you something else. And for all of us who had a vision that Mike Tyson was properly punished by our legal system and did time, from the moment he went off to jail, you can't quarrel with the way he has conducted himself, the way he got through prison. It's not like he's made headlines. It's not like he's conducted some sort of high-profile existence since he got out of jail. And what I'm saying is, there's a lot to what you say, but I don't think of him as a creature from a horror movie. I think of him as a tough man who can still hit, who's trying to make something out of his life. Now, maybe he won't, Mitch.
Well, I'm not saying that, well, first of all, it doesn't erase the rape charges that he served the charge, but I'm not really talking about the social thing. Mike Tyson presents himself as a brooding private man. He didn't talk after the fight last night. In this recent magazine article, he says he enjoyed his time in prison in the hole alone. He could have stayed. It's the image that he presents of sort of wanting to be the picture of destruction. I'm not talking about the social implications. I'm talking about he likes to be violence incarnate. And I don't know that that's heroic to a whole lot of people. I'm not denying that there's somebody, but not in the way that, fighters who wave the American flag in the Olympics or things like that.
He likes to intimidate, which he certainly did last night.
The question, has to be, is he a hero or what is he? Insofar as there is a boxing public, whatever is left of it, compared to the 30s, 40s, and 50s when boxing was second only to baseball as the #1 sporting interest in America. Insofar as there is such an interest, there is a great fascination among people who still love boxing to see him fight because of the opening question you asked. What was the promise? How good can he be? Everybody knows that whether he was in jail or whether he has a belt or doesn't have a belt, he's the uncrowned heavyweight champion of the last 10 years. Whether he's got a belt or not, everybody knows he's the fighter. You want to see him fight. You want to see him do what he does best.
This was only a good thing for boxing in the sense that he looked like there's still some possibilities in his game. And I'm telling you, there had been nothing that I had seen in the 1990s before he went in, after he came out, to indicate that he had anything left. And again, from the time he hit him a ferocious right hand, to the rib cage. Oh man, wouldn't I like to? And then set him up and took him out. So anyway, what I'm saying is, this was a good thing for boxing, and there was a little of the old excitement there.
Here's an interesting thing to think about. Tyson will be, by the end of this year, the richest athlete for 1996. He made $30 million last night. All he has to do is one more fight, and he'll exceed everybody without a single endorsement contract. Most of the athletes that we know in America, we know through their endorsements, through their commercials, the Michael Jordan syndrome. This guy just comes out of the oblivion. One night every 3 or 4 months, fights, disappears, and he's still making more money.
Better to do it though Jordan's way without a single punch being landed.
Oh yeah, it'll last a lot longer.
You don't see him doing one of those milk advertisers with the little white on it?
I'm interested in the reaction of one person and one person only to this fight, Riddick Bowe.
Okay, I talked to Riddick Bowe as soon as the fight ended last night, and I asked him, since you want the reaction,
yeah, well, I mean,
I'll tell
right.
I said, what did you think? And the first thing he said was, the one guy was scared. The other guy was scared, and I said, well, I don't understand how a professional can get to that level and be scared. Could you see yourself ever being scared in that situation? He said, no, we come from the same school. He said, he can't scare me. And I said, well, what else did you see? He said, well, he said he thought he didn't move well. I heard other people say he didn't move side to side. Why should he?
What I mean is, I want to know his reaction. How is he going to prepare himself, getting ready mentally now for the fight that must take place? I mean, by the end of this year, whenever it's going to be, Tyson will have reunited. There'll be one heavyweight champion, thank God, and then one fight that we want to see.
I don't think you should blame that on God, but that's okay.
You just look at Tyson, and right now, for everything that's happened to him, for all of the well-publicized mistakes and one heinous mistake he made with this woman, and he's still saying in the Esquire column that was written this month that he didn't do it, and I wish he'd stop that. But right now, he's where he wants to be. He's got one belt. He's going to get the other 2 belts. And again, the earning power that we thought he had 6 or 7 years ago, when you would think that Mike Tyson was going to make more money than any, he's 21 years old, he had the title, he was going to make 50 or 60 or 70 million dollars every couple of years.
Look out, Mike Tyson. Buster Douglas is returning to the ring this spring to fight Tony La Rosa. No, not Tony La Russa, Tony La Rosa, on the undercard of the Hector Camacho-Roberto Duran fight on May 18th. Douglas hasn't fought since his loss to Evander Holyfield on October 25th, 1990.
Chicago police continuing now to investigate a complaint of sexual assault against Mike Tyson. No charges have been brought against the former heavyweight champion, who was on probation after serving 3 years for a rape conviction. Indiana officials are watching this closely to see if Tyson may have violated his probation. A Gary, Indiana woman told police she was assaulted by Mike Tyson on Sunday night at a Chicago nightclub. The woman says she sought treatment at a hospital. She filed the complaint a day later. Tyson has yet to comment publicly, but his handlers say he did nothing wrong.
If it's a situation where if Mike is wrong, Mike is wrong. But we don't believe that Mike is wrong whatsoever. He's very satisfied that he did nothing to hurt or harm anyone whatsoever. I talked to him a few times last night and this morning, and he's very satisfied that he did nothing wrong or violated anyone whatsoever.
Accounts of what took place is not accurate. It doesn't mesh with what I've received so far from personnel there and from my client. Again, I guess it's a way of protecting their organization, the Click nightclub.
Again, no comment directly today from Mike Tyson. Probation officials are not waiting for Chicago police to finish their investigation of Mike Tyson. They have already restricted Tyson to the state of Ohio until this matter is resolved. Exactly what Tyson is accused of doing Sunday night in a Chicago nightclub is still unclear. 2 friends of the woman who filed the complaint say that woman claims Tyson had kissed her and bitten her face. Others in the club that night dispute the charge. Tyson is living in Ohio, so that state is supervising his probation. The ultimate decision on whether to proceed against Tyson rests in Indiana, and probation officials there are still awaiting the official complaint and the Chicago police report.
This year, the cable television business gets together for a big convention at which executives do business, and very often the networks parade their stars around trying to attract attention. Showtime had hoped to do just this with Mike Tyson next week in California, but found out that Tyson was denied permission to leave the state of Ohio. Tyson has still not been cleared of allegations that he assaulted a woman at his bar, or not his bar, but a bar, earlier this month.
Mike Tyson will not be charged for an alleged incident in a Chicago nightclub earlier this month. At this hour, Chicago authorities are announcing that decision, and also that investigation yielded insufficient evidence. A Gary, Indiana woman filed a complaint alleging that Tyson sexually battered her. Since that complaint was filed, Tyson was confined to the state of Ohio by that state's probation authorities and told by Indiana officials to stay out of all bars and strip clubs. Just yesterday, Tyson was denied permission to travel to Los Angeles to appear for Showtime at a cable convention. There is no word yet if Tyson will now be permitted to make that trip.
Mike Tyson will not be charged for allegedly touching and fondling a woman in a Chicago nightclub.
As a result of LaDonna August's claims, the boxer has been ordered to stay out of strip clubs and bars, as well as having his travel restricted. But police announced Friday there was not enough proof to warrant prosecution against Tyson.
We interviewed dozens of persons regarding the incident and found insufficient evidence to charge Mr. Tyson. The investigation was completed this afternoon, and the decision not to press charges was made with the concurrence of the state's attorney's office.
Officials at the nightclub and a friend of August say Tyson did nothing wrong. Despite the dropping of criminal charges, the case isn't over. August's lawyer, Jerry Lee Petit, says he will file a civil suit against the heavyweight champion.
Even though Lennox Lewis won the right to fight Mike Tyson in a courtroom, he sold that right today for $4 million. ESPN has learned that Lewis, the #1 challenger for the WBC title, was paid that sum to step aside so that Tyson could fight Bruce Seldon for the WBA title on July 13th in Las Vegas. The Tyson-Seldon fight had been originally scheduled until Lewis filed suit claiming he was the rightful challenger. So Tyson-Seldon goes on as planned, and there is no firm guarantee that Lennox Lewis will meet Tyson next, if ever. But Lennox Lewis made $4 million today to do nothing but get out of the way.
The fight that appeared as if it might not take place was Mike Tyson against Bruce Seldon for the heavyweight championship of the world. Tyson, the WBC champ, was scheduled to fight Seldon, the WBA champ, on July 13th until the fight was derailed by legal action brought by Lennox Lewis. Lewis felt that he was promised the WBC title fight and successfully sued to prevent Tyson from fighting anyone else until his claims were fully heard. Well, that's all over now, and Tyson will meet Seldon as originally scheduled July 13th. All it took was a reported $4 million payment for Lewis to step aside. While the Lewis camp publicly maintained that Tyson was ducking him, they turned down a $10 million offer to make the fight. If it makes you wonder who's ducking whom. A surprising ruling by a New Jersey judge not only assured Lewis, the challenger, the upper hand of the negotiations, but actually prohibited Tyson, the champion, from relinquishing the WBC belt and, in effect, end any obligation to Lewis. Purdy, have you ever heard of anything like this happening before?
No, and in all the years I've been in boxing, I don't think I've ever seen so much legal machinations and this fall-draw that goes on between everyone to make a fight. I come from those simple days of Lewis, Marciano, Ali. The best man is decided in the ring, not in a court of law. For lawyers to get together and make Lennox Lewis assume the position of the champion, being able to dictate when somebody fights, and the champion Tyson in a position where he can't even resign his title, is to me unimaginable in these United States. I don't think that was right, and I hope they straighten it out in November when they come to fight again, because the winner will be decided inside these ropes, and that's the way it should be in boxing.
Well, as best as we understand it, the current agreement allows Tyson to fight Seldon with only Seldon's WBA title at stake. If Tyson wins, he must fight Lewis or relinquish the WBC crown. Should Seldon win, the WBC title automatically becomes vacant. So, Bobby, how will this affect the heavyweight title picture?
Well, Steve, it really gets convoluted, but we'll try my best in a short amount of time we have. If Seldon wins, the WBC belt is vacant. As of right now, the leading available contender to fight Lewis would be the man who beat him in the first place, Oliver McCall. However, Mike Tyson would once again be rated because he would be a non-champion. So he could, in fact, be rated ahead of Oliver McCall and still fight Lennox Lewis that way. Now, if Mike Tyson wins, which many people think he will retain the WBC belt and gain the WBA belt. He'll be mandated to fight Lewis within a certain amount of time. However, contractual obligations by both Lewis's camp and Lewis, as well as Mike Tyson, will probably prevent that fight from taking place. We may never see them fight, ever.
I want to run that down one more time. I hope you're taking notes at home, folks, because we'll have a test in the morning. The sad and silly part of all of this is if Lewis could fight as well as his lawyer, he might actually have a chance against Tyson, leaving me to think we won't be seeing Tyson versus Lewis anytime soon. As to the claim that Tyson is ducking Lewis, after seeing Lewis's last fight, that's like saying that Tyson is ducking Jerry Lewis. So now the way has been cleared for WBC heavyweight champ Mike Tyson to fight WBA heavyweight champ Bruce Seldon. This heavyweight championship bout will be the main event of a pay-per-view boxing card from the MGM Grand Garden Arena on Saturday, July 13th.
Fighting is the best sport in the history of the world. And I never really actually wanted to do anything else. An internal drive, just something I love to do. I just like to get it on. Some people just love to do it, but they don't have the desire to fight anymore. I I just have decided to fight. It's like playing a game of cards. You never let no one knows what's going on in your mind.
Tyson is back on the road to the heavyweight championship.
Tell me about it.
And that road runs through here.
Championship fight is? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? How about September 7th? Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon mix it up in Las Vegas just over 3 weeks from today. And today, Tyson did some ring work at the MGM Grand. And as he likes to say, he was throwing punches with bad intentions. At least that's what it looks like. Mike just about wearing out those training pads he's pounding on right there. Afterwards, Tyson was asked about his time in jail. He answered, in part, referring to other heavyweight fighters.
The only thing I was treated different than other inmates was that I was treated worse than they were because I was Mike Tyson. And God forbid if any of those guys went in prison after some of those Holyfield and all those guys said them nasty things about, God knows what they would have been doing because they might not have been able to take it. They'd have probably been wearing makeup. I don't believe in rehab. I don't believe in rehabilitation. I believe some people are smarter than others and they watch the next time they get out of trouble. There's no such thing as rehabilitation. Just I didn't like that experience, so I'm not going to go that route anymore to get in trouble no more. But I'm still capable of doing the same thing.
Sunday Conversation is brought to you by Sprint, one source for all the ways you communicate.
His notorious carousing led to the troubles that forced him from the boxing scene, and now his reformed ways have him thinking retirement. Mike Tyson says he'll hang him up sometime next year and head to Mecca. Not Las Vegas, the real Mecca, in Saudi Arabia. Iron Mike Tyson, the man who normally lets his fists do the talking, sat down with Mark Schwartz for our Sunday Conversation.
First of all, where can I get a white tiger?
You believe it or not, there's so many various dealers that would be willing to sell you one for the right price.
And you gave up a Lamborghini for a tiger?
No, I just paid for it. I was willing to do that, though.
Why?
I'm an animal nut.
A car like that costs what?
$250 something. I don't care. But for something like the cat is a living species. I used to think toys like cars and homes, those are just, that's truly materialism. But just a human life is just nothing like it. To have something that's wild like a lion, a tiger, a bear, and just try your best. Because we never completely control it, but just to have it under some kind of reasonable stage, it's incredible.
I don't think it's widely known that you love cats. What are some other things about you that probably nobody really knows, things that fascinate you?
I don't know, I like to pray. I'm a Muslim, and I believe in Islam, and eventually I'm considering another probably 2 years, a year and a half now. I can't wait to stop fighting because I'm gonna go to Mecca and make Hajj. And I was thinking about how I'm gonna live my life. I'm trying to put myself in the stage where I'm prepared if I'm gonna live one particular place, and I'm gonna give up everything. I'm gonna give up my life. I'm gonna sell most of my property, and I'm trying to make up my mind that's truly what I want to do.
That must be quite a thing you're wrestling with. I mean, you're talking about giving all of it up. Your career, your possessions.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Not just give my possessions up and totally be broke. I mean, it's talking about the extra that's not necessarily like a house here, 30 cars and all this, 100 people looking at me, 100 entourage or whatever it may be. I'm just really considering giving that up.
After everything that you've been through, prison, your childhood, today, 1996, are you happy with who you are?
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm just not a happy person by nature. It's not that way. Yeah, no, that's not me. I've been through some ordeals in my life where I'm always suspicious. So, it doesn't give you much time to be happy. You get a moment in your life where things are funny and you enjoy a moment, but you must always get back on your guard and say, whoa, don't get too carried away with this stuff. I'm just always prepared for the worst, but I enjoy the good.
Do you ever get afraid of anything? What kind of things scare you?
I'm not afraid of anything but God, you know what I mean? In a fight situation, we all get those jitteries and, slight doubts about situations, but I always stand upright under any kind of adversity. That's when I'm at my best.
I mean, haven't you seen opponents like Bruno and like Stewart and like Carl Williams who just seem scared to death?
Well, I give them reason to feel that way.
How would you compare your skills in the ring now to 1988 when you handled Michael Spinks in 91 seconds?
I'm a better fighter now than I was back then, right? But I couldn't beat that guy back then.
How come?
The guy's awesome. He was awesome. I was just, I was a wild man. And my lifestyle is totally different. That what makes me a better fighter. I was drinking. I was hanging out all night with women. I was fighting these guys. This is like a week or so before fights. Day before, you know
How about the night before?
God knows what I've done nights before fights. But I'm just saying that's what totally makes me a better fighter. You know what I mean? I would last longer. You know, see, a guy like that didn't last long. You see what happened to me, right? I was just totally out of control, a wild man.
Catch part 2 of our exclusive conversation with Iron Mike on Monday Night Sports Center when he talks about surviving. Watch the whole Sports Center, of course, starting at midnight Eastern.
Sunday Conversation was brought to you by Sprint, one source for all the ways you communicate.
If you watched part 1 of our exclusive interview with Mike Tyson Sunday night, you learned Mike owns a white tiger and that you don't need to know Siegfried and Roy to get one. You also heard that Tyson plans to retire and move to Mecca sometime next year. In part 2 of Tyson's talk with Mark Schwartz, we learn about Tyson and Ali, Tyson and love, and Tyson and survival.
What is it that attracted you to Islam?
You know what's something that's so ironic about it? Because when I first got involved, I just went to the mosque in prison just to get out of my cell. That's the only reason I went there.
How does being a Muslim affect the kind of lifestyle that you did lead before? The nightclubs, the partying. I mean, you can't do both.
I've done both, though. I've done both. It's just, I don't know, it's just like it's an ongoing struggle in your life to find out what you want in life. I know I don't want this. I don't want this. What I got, you know, it's cool. You know what I mean? 30 million a hit, boom, 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 boom. Most of the time, God willing, I'll be successful most of the times anyway. You know, 30 million a hit, boom. This. I don't really think I want it really that bad. As much as I want to do my thing in life.
And what's that money like? What's $65 million for 17 minutes like?
I don't know. I give most of my money away anyway. I wind up broke probably. I take too many causes I take care of, and so many charities. And I take care of people who's unable to take care of themselves. So, you know, maybe really that's what I believe what it's for, is to help people.
How do you feel that you're different now than you were while you were in prison?
I like that guy that was before went to prison. That was a good guy. He was just foolish. That was a hell of a guy. But you know what I mean? That guy can't survive in this world now. That guy that went to prison in '92 couldn't survive right now in this world. He wasn't tough enough.
So prison made you tougher?
Not necessarily prison, but just the learning of the world in which, being more conscious in the world in which we live in.
What's your relationship with Muhammad Ali?
Well, Muhammad Ali, I think real warm. Real warm. I saw him, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry. I seen him on television with the president's wife. I thought that was wow. I was looking at that, it was pretty interesting. That was impressive.
What does he mean to you?
He's a good man, a good brother. Just a very inspirational individual. Inspiration to all races of life. Anybody that just believe in what they, you know, stand for what they believe, and just is a strong believer in God, and just he's an impressive individual.
Do you ever picture yourself completely settling down, doing the father thing, the husband thing, the white picket fence thing?
You know what, God, I tell you that I'm in love with a woman, right? But I truly don't believe anyone can make me happy. have to deal with that myself. I just truly don't believe that.
You mentioned earlier that you're not established yet. You're still kind of don't know. You don't know who Mike Tyson is.
It's just basically I don't know what I want to do, basically. I just don't know what I want to do. You know, fighting, I mean, praise be to God, it comes kind of easy. Only thing I got to do is just go in the gym and train hard, and it'll come pretty good. You know what I mean? You don't know anybody that's been in prison. You know, guys have taken off 5 years, 6 years, and came back and they're good, but they're living their lives. They're going through everyday functions in life. Take a guy and put him 5 years, 6 years, put him in prison, and let him deal with that ordeal, and then let him come. Most of these guys are broken. They're shells for themselves.
How did you survive that?
Oh, I'm going to survive, you know what I mean? I'm going to survive regardless of whatever my situation I deal with. I'm always going to survive. Only reason I can't survive is if I'm dead or something, but I'm going to survive.
Mike Tyson next takes his strong sense of survival into the ring on Saturday. That's when he'll fight Bruce Seldon for the WBC championship in Las Vegas.
Tyson says I've only got one punch, my jab. Well, ask Joe Hip about that punch. Ask Tony Tucker. Look him in the face and ask him. So Tyson thinks I've only got one punch. It works fine for me.
Bruce Seldon, Mike Tyson. Liberation. Champion versus champion. Saturday, September 7th. Live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand.
Well, it looks as if Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon will finally meet and compete this Saturday night for the right to the WBA Heavyweight Championship crown. You may recall these two were scheduled to fight back in July, but that event was canceled when Tyson came down with bronchitis. So the big event will happen this Saturday night on Impulse Channel 21A. The undercard action kicks off at 9 o'clock, and it's live from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Now, for those of you who like to plan ahead a little bit, you'll be happy to know that if you call us and order the fight before Saturday, you can save up to $6. To order early or to ask any questions, call us at 866-9800. Our phones are answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So feel free to call anytime. For the Impulse Marquee, I'm Tracy Reinhart.
CNN Sports Tonight is a change in Mike Tyson's appointment book.
Coming up on SportsCenter, Mike Tyson's road to unification. It's a big bump in the road.
Tyson pulled out of his heavyweight title fight with Seldon because of bronchitis-like symptoms.
One day, I kind of passed out from heat exhaustion, and I just couldn't breathe. I passed out.
I would never let my fighter go in the ring like that. I wouldn't even, whether it was Mike Tyson, whether it was one of my other fighters, Obakar, or one of my other fighters, I would never let him go in the ring in that situation.
I'm experienced enough to know there's going to be a lot of fights. You know, I mean, it's just a temporary setback. I'm never going to go in the ring, not 100% anymore.
After a bout with bronchitis, Mike Tyson is back in his Ohio gym preparing for Bruce Seldon.
You can tell right now he's training at a very high level. Just the punches you see him throwing now with the snap, with the speed, with the power. None of that was happening before he postponed his fight with bronchitis.
Everybody got a chance to train harder, get in better condition. And I guess this would be a great fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of Catskill, New York, presenting the youngest man ever to win the heavyweight crown and the last to unify it in the ring. His record includes 44 victories in his 45 bouts, including his most recent victory, a third-round knockout over Britain's Frank Bruno to capture the first title in his comeback trail. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, here is the one and only Iron Mike Tyson. And his opponent is the defending world champion from Atlantic City, New Jersey. His record includes 33 victories and 29 of them coming by way of knockout. He is making the second defense of his title. Here is the WBA heavyweight champion of the world, known as the Atlantic City Express, introducing Bruce Seldon. It's champion versus champion, Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story.
When Bruce Seldon and Mike Tyson enter the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, the arena will come alive with an indescribable, almost tangible excitement. For this fight will be the first in almost 9 years that two reigning heavyweight champions will fight it out in the ring. Hi, I'm Steve Albert, and welcome to Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story. In 1987, Mike Tyson became the last to unify the three splintered heavyweight titles. Now, nearly 1 decade later, after dominating Britain's Frank Bruno and winning the WBC title, he is hoping to repeat history and regain past glory by once again becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. But standing in his way is the fastest, most athletic opponent of his comeback, WBA champion Bruce Seldon.
So what you got here is an all-time, old-fashioned war. Tyson and Seldon is going to be a nuclear explosion.
Over the next half hour, we will not only be looking at both fighters, but bring you a remarkable interview with Mike Tyson, describing the pressures of being one of the most celebrated, yet most vilified athletes in the world today. We start with a look at the background and comeback of Mike Tyson. Turning pro at the age of 18, Mike Tyson would go on to win 37 straight bouts, unify the heavyweight championship, and become the most dominating fighter of his generation. Surprisingly enough, it had all been predicted years earlier by the most important, most influential figure in Tyson's life, legendary trainer Cus D'Amato. After boxing in a New York State reformatory, the tough 14-year-old from Brooklyn moved into D'Amato's Catskill home. And there, Tyson learned more than just boxing.
I learned more about life than I ever would learn about boxing, I think.
Many believe Tyson slowly drifted away from the teachings of D'Amato. But now, since his incarceration, he is anxious not to repeat past mistakes and eager to regain the future that once was his. And to do so, he has returned to the ways of his mentor.
Cus gave me confidence. He praised me every day. And he praised me to the degree in which he made me believe everything he said about me.
For his return to the ring, Tyson enlisted surrogate brother and D'Amato disciple Jay Bright to be his trainer.
Cus's style is a mixture of aggressiveness and defensiveness, and it's a very hard style to master, but it's the most effective style.
In his first fight back, Tyson trounced a hopelessly outclassed Peter McNeely in just 89 seconds.
If knew this guy wasn't able to take anything, I had to dish out. But I was just happy to be in the ring.
4 months later, he systematically destroyed Buster Mathis Jr. in 3 rounds.
I used to know it'd be a matter of time. The first punch stung him, but I know the second punch hit him on top of the head on the side, and he was unable to get up.
Then, in the most formidable challenge of his comeback, Tyson met Frank Bruno for the WBC title. Bruno, a 13-year veteran and winner of 40 bouts, seemed surprisingly intimidated by the smaller Tyson.
That's the objective of fights. I mean, to make the man intimidated. He wasn't intimidated, I'm sure, because of my appearance, and perhaps because of more what I'm capable of doing.
Effectively employing D'Amato's style, Tyson dominated the bout.
What Mike Tyson was doing was taking the fight away from Frank Bruno. He was not allowing Frank Bruno to hit him while he hit Frank Bruno with devastating combinations.
Tyson laying it on, pouring it on, down goes Bruno into the ropes.
While it is easy to understand the magnitude of the fight and the importance of the victory, many were surprised by the unbridled joy and emotional behavior of the normally stoic D'Amato disciple.
This title is for my dear mentor, Cus D'Amato.
When he said, I want to dedicate this fight to my mentor, Cus D'Amato, that was a very, very warm moment for me. I loved it. I thought that was very great. I thought that was excellent. I thought that was a very sensitive moment.
I did it for him, you know what I mean? I did it for him. I don't know, he said, he just deserves a lot, I believe, you know what I mean? He just deserves a lot. To me, he was just always my friend.
Now, in the tranquil farmlands of northern Ohio, Tyson trains for the next step in his quest to unify the heavyweight title. But as he prepares to meet the determined WBA champion, Bruce Seldon, he knows he is fighting to keep the memory of Cus D'Amato
alive.
I had a great teacher, man, and I was a good listener when I wanted to listen. And as long as I reign, he reigns with me.
Well, fans, hoping to derail Mike Tyson's comeback, the Atlantic City Express, Bruce Seldon. Coming to you next on Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story.
Bruce Seldon, if I want his title, I gotta beat him. He's champion, and no one knows him. Joe Hip knows Seldon, made his face look like hamburger. Tony Tucker knows him too. Got a jab like a jackhammer. No one knows him. That's because no one wants to.
Bruce Seldon, Mike Tyson, Liberation, champion versus champion, Saturday, September 7th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand.
Tyson says I've only got one punch, my jab. Well, ask Joe Hip about that punch. Ask Tony Tucker. Look him in the face and ask him. So Tyson thinks I've only got one punch? It works fine for me.
Bruce Seldon, Mike Tyson, Liberation, champion versus champion, Saturday, September 7th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand.
I'm Steve Albert, and welcome back to Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story. When Bruce Seldon makes the long walk from the dressing room to the ring to defend his WBA championship against Mike Tyson, it will be the culmination of a career spent beating the odds. In the shadow of opulence and the wealth of the boardwalk casinos, Seldon grew up on Atlantic City's west side, amid the graffiti, violence, and shattered lives of the streets. Arrested for grand larceny at the age of 16, Seldon was sentenced to 10 years at Annandale Correction Facility, one of New Jersey's toughest prisons. But when he joined its boxing team, he found his calling and created a future few, if any, would have believed possible.
That's when I picked up my first set of boxing gloves and I put them on and I said, hey, I got talent and I know how to box.
It was that talent and a concerted effort to turn his life around which granted Seldon an early release from a 10-year sentence.
I took my experience and my time being incarcerated, and I put all that together. And here I am today, heavyweight champ of the world.
Relying on power, speed, and athleticism, Seldon won his first 18 fights, 15 by knockout. Suddenly, he was a big man in a small city, and his popularity began to soar. But in 1991, Seldon's incessant partying and lack of discipline finally caught up with him. In less than 6 months' time, he lost to Oliver McCall and Riddick Bowe. And 1 year later, he lost a 10-round decision to Tony Tubbs.
I took my 3 losses, and I kind of just brushed them off because I said to myself, in the sport of boxing, one man has to win, one man has to lose. That's the rules, you know? So when I took those 3 losses, it kind of woke me up.
Over the next 2 years, a rededicated and determined Seldon won 8 straight bouts by knockout. Using a powerful jab to set up his opponents, he earned a reputation as one of the most skilled technicians in the heavyweight division.
I'll be tough, be strong, knock these guys right out. And that's how I did it. I dreamed being heavyweight champ of the world. Everybody dreams the impossible dream. You know, they never expect it to happen until it happens.
And it did finally happen. Seldon's dream came true last April when he faced Tony Tucker for the vacant WBA heavyweight championship.
Because my jab was working so good that night, I seen it in his eyes that he was getting real frustrated. He was getting frustrated because he couldn't get next to me.
There's that beautiful doubling up of the jab by Seldon. Former standout Diego Rosario shouting instructions at Bruce Seldon, saying, stick with the plan, box him, and you've got his eyes shut.
Beautiful round for Bruce.
And with his eye nearly closed, many, including Seldon, wondered how much more Tucker could take.
When the bell sounded, the way he started to come out, I kind of seen he was slowing down. He was getting real sluggish. And I was in great shape. I was in tremendous shape. So right then I kind of knew that fight was mine.
The winner by way of technical knockout and the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, the Atlantic City Express, Bruce Seldon.
It was the greatest moment in my life. It was a dream come true. I felt like crying. I felt like laughing. I felt like laying down on that canvas like I did. I was just so happy.
4 months later, Seldon carried his championship belt into the ring against a seasoned Joe Hill. Seldon has been effective with the left jab. It's not only a probing jab, but it's an effective, strong jab.
I like to be up in that ring, 230, 235-pound guy, muscle-built guy, moving around that ring, staying on his toes, boxing, looking like a Muhammad Ali of old. Boxing, moving, utilizing a good left jab. I just wanted to pump my jab and just keep my jab going all night long and eventually win the fight.
Our referee in charge, Richard Steele, stops the contest, and the winner by way of technical knockout and still WBA heavyweight champion of the world, the Atlantic City Express, Bruce Seldon.
Now, almost 1 year later, Seldon expects to beat the odds one more time when he steps into the ring against one of the most respected champions in the history of the sport, Mike Tyson.
Tyson's just another man. He's not invincible. He can be beat. My game plan, man, is to just get up there in that ring and do my best. And I'm training because I know this is the most important fight of my life. My heart is just as big as your heart, you know? I'm not afraid of you. I'm taller than you, I'm faster than you, and I have a longer reach than you. And I have a good left jab, and I have great athleticism. So it's going to be a tremendous fight, and I'm so anxious, man. I truly can't wait for this fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you have never seen him before, the man behind the myth, Mike Tyson. Next on Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story.
On September 7th, WBA heavyweight champion Bruce Seldon fights WBC champion Mike Tyson. The best boxer meets its hardest puncher.
7.
We'll be unlucky for one of them.
7.
Also on the 7th, Felix Trinidad defends his welterweight title against dangerous Ray Lovato. This will be Trinidad's 7th title defense.
7.
And super welterweight champion Terry Norris fights Alex Rios.
7.
It could be his 50th win or 7th loss.
7.
Plus on the 7th, boxing's newest sensation, Christy Martin. Many say she's the world's best woman fighter. Now you'll see why.
7.
Saturday, September
7.
Liberation, champion versus champion. 3 championship fights plus Christy Martin. Live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand.
7.
For most people, it's lucky.
7.
For some, it isn't.
Hi, I'm Steve Albert, and welcome back to Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story. In 1987, a charismatic and ferocious 20-year-old Mike Tyson beat Trevor Berbick to become the youngest fighter in boxing history to win the heavyweight championship. And with that victory, the public's interest and the media's fascination with Tyson turned his life into a bewildering carnival of facts, fiction, and lurid drama. But 5 years later, it came to a sudden and immediate halt.
Former world champion Mike Tyson is now inmate Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, once on top of the world, he was handcuffed, fingerprinted, frisked.
Since his release, Tyson has consistently refused to allow his personal life to once again be turned into a media circus. But as he prepares to fight Bruce Seldon for the WBA heavyweight title, he spoke freely about the pressures and problems he must now confront.
I was away for 4 years, and I've been in prison, and I've been through a great deal of degradation and disrespect. But you can't expect somebody to get over something in a year that he dealt with for 3.5 years. I think the privilege really did a number on me, and it's hard to really explain.
Tyson now lives and trains in the secluded farm country of Ohio, far from the pressures of fame and temptations of the past.
Look at my situation. I allowed myself, you know, even though other people contribute to it, I have to carry the weight of a fool. You know what I mean? I didn't create this image alone, but I'm the only one that has to carry it alone.
Despite his reluctance for publicity and insistence on privacy, Tyson knows he stands on the brink of boxing greatness.
I never want to put myself in a position where I feel that I'm great. That's a vulnerable position to be in when you think you're invincible. So I just don't want to be in that position where I believe that I'm invincible when I was younger. Till this day, sometimes I say, how the hell do I get here? You know, because I look at myself, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, I'm not the strongest guy in the world, and I say to myself, what am I doing here? And I've been doing this since I've been 12 years old, fighting competitively, and I say, what am I doing here? Look at me, I'm short. I got this probably the shortest reach in heavyweight history. You know what I mean? And I've been one of the most successful heavyweights. And that's because it's just the will to win and the desire to overcome adversity.
Tyson still possesses the power, the speed, and the ferocity he needs to succeed in the heavyweight division. But he is trying to curb the anger and channel the aggression he often exhibited towards his opponents outside the ring.
Thanks, guys. I'm gonna let you throw your line in the back. I'm getting it.
For he believes this behavior is unnecessary and unwarranted.
I don't want to humiliate anyone. I've been humiliated too much. I've seen too many people humiliated. And I really never understand the effect of humiliation until I went to prison.
When Tyson recently defeated his longtime rival, Frank Bruno, to regain the WBC championship, many were surprised by what happened just moments after his victory.
And Mike Tyson over to console Frank Bruno. I'd love to find out what he's saying to him.
I was just saying, basically, thank you very much for the opportunity. And you know what I mean? I respect you a great deal as a man, and I love you as well. And I just wanted to show him my respect.
Tyson's more mature, more disciplined attitude, however, has not diminished his confidence or extinguished his competitive fires. For as he prepares to meet the determined Bruce Seldon for the WBA championship, he is eager to fight and hungry to win.
Like 10 years ago, I would have called him so many names and told him, yeah, you know what you got coming, but I find it much easier than just to do it than to say it.
Ladies and gentlemen, parting shots and final words. Next on Seldon versus Tyson, a championship story.
Tyson says I've only got one punch, my jab. Well, ask Joe Hip about that punch. Ask Tony Tucker. Look him in the face and ask him. So Tyson thinks I've only got one punch. It works fine for me.
Bruce Seldon, Mike Tyson. Liberation. Champion versus champion. Saturday, September 7th. Live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand.
You can see WBA champion Bruce Seldon put his title on the line against WBC champ Mike Tyson. And more world title bouts live on pay-per-view. I'm Steve Albert, and thanks for watching.
8 years after he was fired by Mike Tyson, Kevin Rooney is suing the heavyweight champion for $49 million in past and projected earnings. Rooney admits he had no written contract, but says he did have an agreement that he would be Tyson's trainer for his entire career. During his testimony of nearly 5 hours, Tyson said Rooney got the axe for commenting publicly on the heavyweight champion's marital problems with Robin Givens. It was betrayal, said Tyson. Even so, Iron Mike claims he thought about rehiring Rooney until he was sued by him. Oops. Tyson also told jurors he wanted to be champion for 8 more years, but had no desire to fight past his prime, as Ali, Holmes, and Foreman did. Trial is expected to conclude with 2 days of defense testimony.
Boxing news now. Kevin Rooney was asking for $49 million from Mike Tyson. Today in Albany, New York, a jury awarded Tyson's former trainer more than $4.4 million. Rooney claimed that the fighter broke a lifetime contract between the two men. Although there was no written document, the jury came back with a judgment for Rooney.
I don't believe it was a just trial, and I don't believe the facts were just, and the facts wasn't listened to. And like I said before, if Kevin would have came to me from the beginning and said, Mike, screw those women, screw Bill Cayton, I'm bankrupt, I'm doing bad, and I would say, Kevin, you know I got a ton of money, and I know you from a long time. What you need, huh? Take $4 million.
This is nothing about race. This was about principle. This was about honor. This is about, was there a deal or it wasn't a deal? It had nothing to do with color. Only guys like Don King and Al Sharpton say things like that.
Tyson says he will appeal today's decision. Outside the courthouse, about 24 demonstrators brought to Albany by New York City activist Al Sharpton to support Tyson chanted "No justice, no peace."
That's what a federal jury told heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. The jury from Albany, New York, ordered Tyson to give his former trainer Kevin Rooney more than $4.4 million, claiming the boxer had broken a lifetime contract by firing him in 1988. The jury decided that the $49 million Rooney sought was just too much and said that he should not get any of Tyson's subsequent purse money. Tyson denounced the ruling and promised he would appeal. Activist Al Sharpton said, quote, "An all-white jury has robbed Mike Tyson of his human status," although Tyson would not comment when asked if he thought the decision was racially motivated.
I don't believe it was a just trial, and I don't believe the facts were just, and the facts wasn't listened to. And like I said before, if Kevin would have came to me from the beginning and said, Mike, screw those women, screw Bill Cayton, I'm bankrupt, I'm doing bad, and I would say, Kevin, you know I got a ton of money, and I know you from a long time. What you need, huh? Take $4 million.
You should have came to me and said, listen, Kevin, I know I screwed you. Here's $5 million, here's $4 million, here's $1 million. You know, drop the lawsuit, and I know that, you know, you're in a little bit of trouble here.
I've heard, of course, of a boxer having the eye of the tiger. Mike Tyson, though, forget the eye. He just has the tiger. Tyson at his Las Vegas home, running around his yard, being chased by a beautiful white tiger. The animal didn't escape from a nearby Siegfried and Roy show. This is Tyson's pet. And look at Mike coming up, playing with the wild animal as if it were just a common house cat. The only hope that Tyson gets as good a fight from Evander Holyfield next Saturday night.
Most of my friends think I'm nuts. They don't come around my house. And the lions or tigers or cats around, they don't come around.
I was thinking there goes $100 million if this tiger hits him going down the river in a basket. You know what I mean? Please, Lord, don't let nothing happen to Mike with this tiger. Then the tiger started boxing him. I said, oh, my God, the tiger was throwing them right-hand paws and left-hand paws and jumping up on Mike. Man, my heart was just beating in my mouth. That just come up out of my cardiovascular reason in my mouth. $100 million going down. I said, plus I'm going to be embarrassed. Everybody going to say, hear what King done did. You know what I mean?
Please don't let anything happen to my meal ticket. We'll have live reports from Vegas as the Tyson-Holyfield bout draws near. Nick Charles will bring you all the 411 beginning Wednesday on Sports Tonight. And Sports Late Night is back in a bit.